guys. So I am making this video to kind of give you guys an idea of what high functioning ASD or autism spectrum disorder is, and so you guys kind of have an understanding of what Kayden's going through and a general description for everybody under the blanket term autism spectrum disorder, because it is such a large spectrum. Not every child experiences every symptom. Every child is unique in the sense that they all have different symptoms and they have different problems that they have to face every day. So I have this thing pulled up on my laptop, which is right here. So if you see me looking this direction, that's because I'm looking at the description for the blanket autism spectrum high functioning thing, because Kayden does not have all the symptoms. So I'm going to be kind of reading a little bit about it to explain to you, because I think this list thing, this explanation is really good. So I'm going to be reading it to you, and I will probably be linking the site that I got it off of below so you guys can read this too and read the whole article, because I'm just reading a small part of it. Here are just a few issues that get between people on the high end of this autism spectrum. Number one is extreme sensory issues. People at the higher end of the spectrum are just as susceptible as people in the middle or lower of the spectrum to have sensory dysfunctions. These include mild, moderate, or extreme sensitivity to noise, crowds, bright lights, strong taste, smells, and touch. This means that a person who is bright, verbal, and capable to be able to walk may be unable to walk into a crowded restaurant, attend a movie, or cope with sensory assaults associated with malls, stadiums, or other venues. Number two, social cluelessness. This is one big one for Kayden. It is almost the largest part of his ASD, and that is, what's the difference between a civil greeting and a signal of romantic interest? How loud is too loud? When is it okay to talk about your personal issues or interests? When is it important to stop doing what you enjoy in order to attend to another person's need? These are tough questions for anyone, but a person on the high end of the autism spectrum can be very overwhelmed with obstacles to social connections, employment, and romance. Anxiety and depression. And this is something that Bryce and I both already deal with. I don't think Bryce has anxiety, but I do. Personally, I have really bad social anxiety, and I have just anxiety. I get anxiety all the time. It's also a problem that goes along with autism spectrum disorders. Anxiety, depression, and other mood disorders are more common among people with high functioning autism than they are among the general population. We don't know whether the autism causes the mood disorders or whether the disorders are a result of social rejection and frustration. But whatever their cause, mood disorders can be disabling in themselves. Lack of executive planning skills. So executive functioning describes the skills we use to organize and plan our life. They allow typical adults to plan schedules in advance, notice that the shampoo is running low, or create and follow a timeline in order to complete a long-term project. Most people with high-functioning autism have compromised executive functioning skills, making it very tough to plan and manage a household, cope with minor schedule changes at school or at work, and so forth. Emotional dysregulation. Contrary to popular opinion, people with autism have plenty of emotions. In fact, people with autism can become far too emotional in the wrong situations. Imagine a 16-year-old bursting into tears because of change of plans, or a grown woman melting down completely because her car won't start. These types of issues are capable of doing, these types of issues can arise for people with high-functioning autism who are capable of doing a great many things only when situation is predictable and no obstacles arise, which with life, obstacles generally always arise. Number 6 is difficulty with transitions and change. This one I think a lot of people have heard. It's something that I already knew about. Lots of people have a hard time with change, but people with high functioning autism take the issue to a whole new level. Once a pattern is established and comfortable, people with autism by and large want to maintain that pattern forever. If a group of friends goes out on Wednesday for nachos, the idea of going out on Thursday for chicken wings can throw an autistic adult into a state of anxiety or even anger. So Kayden is, I think that's one of his highest points, is difficulty with transitions. He still does have difficulty with transitions, but not nearly like that. Difficulty with following verbal communication. A person with high functioning autism may be more than capable of doing a task, but unable to follow the spoken instructions provided. In other words, if a policeman says, "Stay in your car and give me your license and registration," the person with autism may process only, "Stay in your car," or "Give me your license." The same goes for instructions given, say, at ballroom dance class, at the doctor's office, or by a manager in an office setting. As you can imagine, this can cause any number of issues, ranging from serious problems with the police to inadvertent mistakes at work. And that is the last one on this list. It says, as you can see, the term high functioning does mean what it says, but high functioning autism is not an easy or simple diagnosis to live with. For those caring for, employing, teaching, or working with people on the higher end of the spectrum, it's important to remember that autism is autism. I'm going to go back through that list and kind of tell you what we deal with Kayden, so you can kind of get an idea of his autism. And then there are extra things that are not on this list that he does do that are autism. So this list does not have everything, but this is just kind of pointing out the highlight. Extreme sensory issues. So he does have some sensory issues. They are not bad enough to the point where he can't go other places. He does struggle when he goes out, but that is definitely not one of the biggest issues that he has, but he does have it. It mostly affects him in the classroom when he's working on projects and stuff. Ugh, I have something in my eye. Alright, for social cluelessness, I think I mentioned earlier that this is on the highest end of his list. Just he doesn't know how to communicate with people effectively. He does not. It took him until this year to understand how to have an actual communication where one person says something, the other person says something, and then the other person says something back. It can be a hit and miss with him because he will say, "The sky is blue," or something like that, and another kid will say, "Yeah, it looks really pretty today," and he'll say, "My Ninja Turtle eats cupcakes." So we're getting that back and forth, but we're not getting the understanding of we're supposed to keep on track in the communication bubble. We have to keep on one subject. So that's a work in progress, and he doesn't understand his social cluelessness yet. It has caused him to not make very many friends and be bullied in school. And he's only in first grade, and the bullying was really bad last year. There are still nothing like last year, but there is still kids they just give him looks and like look at him funny and like stay away from him. The thing is, Kayden doesn't really understand when he says something that's inappropriate or weird, and so the other students notice that, but he doesn't. And so he can't just, like normal people, backtrack and be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, you know, I didn't mean to say that," or "That just popped out," or whatever, because he doesn't understand he said something wrong. So he could start talking about his poop to some little girl, and she's gonna be like, to him, that is, you know, just normal parts of life. I mean, why can't we talk about our poop? He just doesn't understand social cues. He doesn't understand jokes. He doesn't understand when we make jokes with him or use expressions. It's really funny talking to him as an adult because you understand, like, he doesn't understand. He's just, you know, this is who he is. But for other children his age, they don't understand, and it's not something that's just being taught in school. He doesn't understand, they don't understand his little quirks and what he's doing. They just think he's a weirdo, which isn't the case. It's just how his brain is wired. Okay, anxiety and depression. We have seen some signs that he might have anxiety or depression, mostly just when it comes to his relationships with other students at work or other students at school. And I know that before I had mentioned that he doesn't understand when he's being weird, and that's true, but he also does understand when people don't want to play with him and don't want anything to do with him, and so that causes a lot of emotional problems, and it does hurt his feelings that people don't want to be around him or talk to him And he also, the other thing that we've noticed is that he is having trouble understanding that maybe what when like the teacher is saying you need to go into the special education room to finish your work because you can't function in here, like it's not, there's too many kids, there's too many distractions, you need to go into this room. He takes that as he's being punished for not being able to do his work like the other students. And it's not that that was the intention at all, and even though it's explained to him that that was not the intention, he does not understand that that is not why it's happening. So it's something we've had to work around a lot, and it's something I'm going to be bringing up in the IEP to try and find a way to work with it, work around it. Emotional dysregulation, this would be the second on his list. He does struggle with emotions every day, all day. He has always been a very, very emotional kid, and I know I've said this even before he was diagnosed. He's just an emotional, very, very emotional kid. And when people think of autism, they automatically like think, oh, this person doesn't understand feelings, like they don't feel, they just sit there and they don't feel. And that's not true. Kayden feels everything, like times 2,000. Every emotion that he has is extreme. So when the kids, like, what was it? There was something really silly. Something like the teacher told him he had, I can't remember, it's like right on the tip of my tongue, but it was in kindergarten, I think, and the teacher told him something like he has a bright and shining face or something, and he took that to mean that like something was wrong with his face, and he came home crying saying he never wanted to go back to school because the teacher said he had a bright and shining face or something. That wasn't exactly it, but it was something similar to that. We had to explain to him that is a good thing, that is not a bad thing. She was meaning that as a compliment, and it took a very, very long time, and I still don't know if he understands that that was not an insult. He doesn't want to go to school or doesn't want to talk to anybody anymore because his friend asked him to play with her and he didn't want to play with her. So she took him to the people he wanted to play with. He got very upset with that. So he just, his emotions are just to an uncontrollable high level, and he feels everything super, super high. When he gets angry, he screams. He has been violent, which is something that just started this past year. Yikes, there's a whole thing there. Difficulty with transition and change, I told you that was definitely on the lower end of things. He does have problems with transitions. Mostly at school, like when school isn't in, he'll have problems, but it's definitely not like temper tantrum, nothing huge. He does have some difficulty following verbal communication, but if you guys watched my video on him helping him learn to cook, he did really good with verbal communication or verbal instruction. So he has his good days and he has his bad days like anybody. That happened to be a very good day, so I was like, let's do this. And he did really, really well. I'm so proud of him for that. He does really good with verbal communication most of the time. If he's having an off day, he won't be able to focus on anything I'm saying, and he'll just be like jumping up and down in the room, flapping his hands. Like, it's just not a good day. You know it's not a good day. They will have good days where they can go to the store and they don't throw tantrums. That's not really a problem for us, but I've seen other autistic kids on YouTube that they throw tantrums in the grocery store, and they can have some days where they won't because they're having a good day, I guess. They're able to cope with it better. I don't think, because I'm not autistic, I don't know what it's like, but I think that it doesn't have to do with the fact that they're seeing or hearing things different, like their sensory processing issues are gone. I think it more has to do with the fact that are able to cope with it better. Like, some days you have a bad day and you just crawl up in your bed and throw off your clothes and say, whatever, I'm reading a book today. And some days when you're having a bad day, you're like, okay, let's fight through this, let's power through this, we can do it. And it doesn't mean that you're having any better of a day between the 2 days, it just means that you're able to cope with it better. So I think that is actually the case. But yeah, some days he just is able to focus on the communication part better. I feel like the older he gets, the harder it gets for him to live with his disability. I say that because he is getting to the age where he's understanding that other people are not wanting to play with him or that other people are giving him dirty looks. He is not oblivious to that. He does see it. It still affects him. But anyways, that's all I have to say. If you have any other questions, be sure to comment below and let me know what they are, and I will see you next time. Thank you guys for watching so much, and I am very happy to bring you guys along on this journey and for you guys to learn some stuff. I want to bring awareness to autism, specifically high functioning, because that's what I know a lot about, but in time I will probably give a little more insight into all types of autism. I was thinking about doing this idea where I do a series on autism specifically, and just like living with autism, showing you the little like autism quirks and like what they do, how he socializes, like you see this in person and not just me like verbally telling you what he's dealing with. If I showed you what we deal with and like how we cope with it and how we help him through it. If you guys would be interested in that, just comment below as well and let me know if that's something that you want to see. Anyways, I have to end this video because I'm making it very long. I will see you guys later. Bye.